I was once an integral part of their world, trusted, revered, essential. The illusions of loyalty and brotherhood wrapped around me like a comforting shroud. But in the end, they betrayed me. I remember the moment it all shattered. The sting of realization cut deeper than any blade ever could. The very people I fought for, bled for, cast me aside without a second thought. Their whispers, their lies, their calculated moves all led to my downfall. I had been blind, a pawn in their grand game, discarded the moment I was no longer useful. The darkness that followed should have swallowed me whole, but instead, it forged me. From the ashes of my broken trust, I rose, sharper, stronger, more ruthless. I was no longer their pawn. I was a force they never anticipated. I learned their weaknesses, their fears, their vulnerabilities, and one by one I dismantled their carefully constructed empire. They thought they had won. They thought I was gone, forgotten. But I returned, not as the man they once knew, but as the reckoning they never saw coming. Now they whisper a different name in fear. Mine. The sound of gunfire echoed through the air, mingling with the cries of the wounded. Daya, a skilled warrior, stood amidst the chaos, her sword dripping with the blood of her enemies. She fought not for glory, but for survival and justice. The war had taken everything from her, her family, her home, and her peace. As she scanned the battlefield, her eyes locked onto a familiar figure. Kieran, her childhood friend turned enemy, stood on the opposite side, his gaze just as intense. They had once dreamed of a world without war, but fate had led them down different paths. With a deep breath, Daya advanced. "Kieran, it doesn't have to be this way," she called out. His grip on his weapon tightened. "It was always meant to be this way." They clashed, steel against steel, their movements precise and desperate. Each strike carried years of unresolved emotions, anger, sorrow, and the bitter taste of betrayal. Finally, Daya managed to disarm him, her blade at his throat. "This is not the end you want, Kieran. Choose a different path." For a moment, hesitation flickered in his eyes. Then, with a weary sigh, he dropped to his knees. "Perhaps you are right." The battle raged on around them, but in that moment, a small victory was won. Not of war, but of redemption. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, Daya knew that though the war was not yet over, hope still remained.